everybody, welcome back to So You Want to Live in Bahia. My name is Kitty and I'm a gringo living here in Salvador, Bahia, Brazil for more than 13 years, and I am a licensed real estate agent, so hit me up if you want to buy or sell property here in Salvador, Bahia. So today's video came from a suggestion from a follower of the channel, Bonito Estranho. Big up to you, thank you so much for following and leaving great comments. And his idea for the video was about the gringo tax. So what is the gringo tax? It's basically this idea that as a foreigner, you're going to be charged more money than you should be for things here in Brazil. So I want to break that down in three different parts. That would be basically things you buy and services, property that you buy as well, and then also rental contracts. So just three things that can kind of help you be up to speed and be wary and be alert for what's going on here. I'd like to say straight off the bat that I don't think that the gringo tax is nearly as bad as some people think it is. I do see, not all foreigners, but I do see a paranoia amongst a lot of people thinking that they're always going to be ripped off by Brazilians. And that happens sometimes, but not as much as you would think. So number one would be things that you buy and services. And for the most part, like anywhere you go, there's going to be a price tag on the thing. You go to a restaurant, there's going to be a menu, so you can't really get screwed over in those situations. Now, I would say the exceptions to the rule are, the biggest one I think would be the beach. When you go to the beach, or find out what the price is for the chair, your umbrella, table, and your drinks. Establish that price up front, because if you don't, you really could get screwed over. And if it makes you feel any better, this isn't necessarily because you're from a different country, because at least here in Salvador, if you are from a different state even, you're considered a gringo. So one time I was at the beach a long ass time ago, okay? I had a 7 reais caipi. Those don't exist at the beach anymore. And I'm drinking it, and the Paulistas next to me, they paid 15 reais for theirs. Now I paid the locals price because I am a local now, and they paid the gringo price. So if it makes you feel any better, it's not just because you weren't born in Brazil. It's because you weren't born in Bahia. So there's that you should worry about. And then also, I suppose, if you are doing a service, like you have your apartment, you want to do the service, and I would say the rule of thumb there is that if the guy who's going to do the service for you, the remodel or, plumbing or whatever it is, if it seems to be about the same price you'd pay in your home country, and your home countries like Europe, Canada, US, then you are being ripped off. Because one thing about Brazil, especially here in Salvador, is that labor is much cheaper. So that's a red flag. Otherwise, I guess I would just ask around. There's so many variables. Like maybe it seems a bit expensive to you, but then if it's quality, then you're going to want to go with that quality guy, because if you pay cheap here for service, you really will get what you pay for. So that's something to think about. For the most part, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You're not really getting ripped off. But that does bring me to number two, which is buying property. Here is a place where you actually could be ripped off if you don't do your own research. I personally, as a real estate agent, have had other agents come up to me and be like, hey, I have this great apartment. It's perfect for a gringo, And I'm like, cool, let me see. They'll send photos and they'll be like 600,000 reais, but for a gringo that's only 100,000 US. And I'm like, this apartment has a value of maybe 400,000. I don't know what you're talking about here. So there will be real estate agents that want to overcharge you because you are not from here, and because they think, oh my gosh, I swear to God, they think that we all just have $100,000 laying around in our bank accounts. We're like, not big a deal. I can pay for this. So the solution to this is go online and research prices. If you find an apartment you like, go online and do the filtro, and be like, okay, what other apartments in this neighborhood, 2 bedrooms, this square meters, with all these amenities, what are the other options for sale? Now, one thing is that I saw a statistic, and I wish I had screen capped this, but like 58% of apartments in Brazil on the market are purposefully priced higher because they know that people are going to want to haggle the price. So with that in mind, if you see prices online, most of the time there is leeway to lower the price. 58% of the time. Now here's another thing, this is where I come in handy, is if you're nervous about that and this is a big purchase, have a real estate agent represent you. So if it's in Salvador, I can 100% do that for you. It'd be my pleasure. But if it's not, then find an agent in another area and ask them for help. Because that way you're just covered. If you have an agent, they can look at it and be like, you know what, this is offer less, this is not, they're asking for too much. Whatever it is, they can protect you and guide you the whole way so that you're not getting ripped off or screwed over. One thing I will say, first of all, you need to know that you do not pay our commission. The buyer does not pay our commission. That is what the seller pays. So you basically get this service practically free, but you cannot try to tack us on after the fact. This is really important to know. If you like a property, then ask your agent to ask the other agent about that property. Because one way to look at it is that you want an agent representing you because you do want transparency in the whole negotiation. You want everything to be clear and out in the open. And if you contact an agent and then after the fact, as you're closing the deal, go, I have my agent who now wants to have a cut of the commission, that's not transparent, right? So ideally, you'd want to treat their side as you would like to be treated, right? So yeah, just contact an agent. It doesn't cost you any money, and it can be very helpful and help answer a lot of questions you might have. Now for number 3 would be rentals, long-term rentals. And you know what? I'm just mentioning this to mention this. I have not heard of any weird situation, but it could arise, and you should know your rights with a long-term rental. So if for sure you're going to be here for 12 months or more, then you're going to want a long-term contract. And a long-term contract, legally they need to offer you a 30-month contract with the option of you leaving after 12 months. Now, if either side breaks this contract, you pay a 2-month rental fine. So say you're paying 4,000 reais a month in rent, you would pay 8,000 reais if you broke the contract. So that's something to keep in mind. Now they can only kick you out of the apartment, break the contract basically, is if someone in their family or they themselves are moving back into the apartment, or if they're selling the apartment. And if they're selling the apartment, they actually have to ask you first if you want to buy it. So there's that. And then I guess the one thing that if you really don't want to get screwed over, when it comes time to renegotiate, after 1 year they can raise the rent, and it's based on an inflation index, and there's various inflation indexes that are used. So you look in your contract to see what inflation index they're using, and then you look online and figure out what percentage they can raise, so that there's transparency there. So say you entered August 2024, so around, and the index is only updated in cima da hora, right before. You'll find out what August is updated for maybe at the end of July. But you go online and you figure out what percentage is being raised the rent, and then from there, say again you're paying 4,000 reais a month in rent, that whole 4,000 reais should not be raised. From that amount, you would deduct the property taxes and the condo fee. Now, condo fee, you can ask around in the building, how much is the condo fee here, to get an idea. Property taxes, if you actually want to know what the property taxes are of the apartment, you can check online. In Salvador, I would just Google Cefaz, which is the government agency that handles property taxes. Cefaz Segunda Via IPTU. IPTU is the property taxes. Now, caveat here is that apartment owners have the opportunity to pay the whole property taxes for the year upfront in January and pay at a discount. So this, ideally you would do this in January if you wanted to know how much the owner's paying in property taxes. Because some owners do pay month to month, but if you try to find out in August what the property taxes are, there's a good chance they paid them all in January, and you will not be able to see how much it was monthly. I hope that makes sense. I haven't heard, to be honest, I have not heard of any instances where people were getting screwed over by landlords and getting overcharged for stuff. I have not heard that here. So I don't think you should be, I think the long and short of it is don't be too worried about the Gringo tax. The Gringo tax does exist, although I do not believe it's nearly as common as some people have you think, you know? Just watch out at the beach. And maybe if you go to some of these marketplaces, you know, even if there's a price on there, if you're at Mercado Modelo or Feira São Joaquim, yes, you can negotiate a little bit. Don't do this at the shopping center. That's not a place for negotiation. So I wouldn't really be that worried about the Gringo tax, to be honest. But it is good to know it exists and what you need to do to be smart about it. And yeah, I hope this helps. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Beijos!